Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at Game 5, Lynx back at home versus the Sun. I'm going to be taking you through projections for each and every player prop, as we don't even have that many up right now as I'm recording here the night before. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a like. Jump in the comments. Let me know who you guys are betting on, and let's get right into it. Quick reminder, if you do want all of the plays that I'm making without having to wait for them to make sure those lines don't move, head to the link in the description. That's where the VIP Discord is. We've also got a sale up for 50% off for your first month. Code is in the description of that video as well if you want to check it out. I'm going to be using outlier.bet and Props Madness to show you exactly how I'm finding what I am finding here moving forward. If you do want a free trial to outlier.bet as well, link to that is in the description of the video. Kicking things off with Napheesa Collier, I'm starting out with her rebounds because I noticed this number here at plus 105 on DraftKings, and that is a very, very good number, especially compared to the rest of this. Basically 9 to 10 to 20 cents better than any other bet that you're going to find from this different book, right? So I really like Napheesa early. I'm recording this during Monday Night Football. That's a big reason why I think this is still available, because nobody's really paying attention to the WNBA right now. But I think this will get bet up, at least in the odds, so you'll lose a lot of the juice if you don't get to this pretty quickly. I love the fact that she's playing against Alyssa Thomas one-on-one pretty much for the entire game on both sides of the floor, especially on defense for the rebounds, though. Alyssa Thomas stands at the top of the free throw line. That puts Collier right in the spot to get a lot of really good rebounds, which is right inside the foul line. And that's really close to the basket. And even with Brianna Jones out there, she's pulling away from the basket. So Alanna Smith's not quite as close, but Collier and Smith should be good to continue to get a lot of boards. And I really like Collier at the number. If you do look at her on the season against this team, 4 of her last 7 that she's gone over, and that includes going back to last year's playoffs as well. And 3 of the 6, four of 7 for this season, as you can see right here. But once again, the minutes have been at about 37. It would make complete sense to me that she play the whole game here on Tuesday night. So with that in mind, just the sheer volume of her minutes and the fact that she's on the floor in the perfect spot to get those boards, I really like her to continue to get to 10, and plus money is a really good look. As far as the points go for Napheesa, I don't hate it. 21.5 though is right at her number. So you can see here, I have the playoff selected, and she's at 27.2. That's a ton. I get that's a clean over. She's only gone under in 2, and that was the first 2 games of this series. A really bad shooting game in one, and a decently bad shooting game in the other. I just don't know that she's going to take many more than 16 shots. Even on the season, she's right at 21.5 points, which doesn't give you much edge because she was playing pretty much the whole game for the entire season. You can see on outlier.bet, if you have the whole season selected for 2024, her minutes per game were at 35.2. In the playoffs specifically, she's still at about that number at about 37. So it's not that much better. It's not like we get this big increase in minutes that we can look at and say she's going to take more shots. She's going to take more. She's going to have more opportunities. She's already getting all the opportunities, and 21.5 points seems pretty fair. She has shot really well in the last couple games. You can see in one of them, the last game, 9 for 15, 60%. Game before, 58% on 19 shots. These are outliers for her. And I know it's the playoffs. I know it's game 5, but you know they're still going to have a game plan for Napheesa that's going to be a little bit more than just Alyssa Thomas one-on-one. I don't think they can go ahead and keep doing that unless the Sun get really hot on offense, and that's not something they want to rely on. So I'm staying away from the points for Napheesa, but I do like the rebounds. Staying on Props Madness, I really like the Kayla McBride under once again, but it is juiced all the way to the gills, right? If you take the under for 13.5 points, minus 130, I hit this at 14.5 2 games ago for them, and it still has hit. Then, interestingly, Ty Harris came back in this last game. She guarded Kayla McBride predominantly, and that led to only 6 field goal attempts for Kayla, and only the, what did she have here? Only the 5 points that she put up. So she's not even close to hitting this number against this team. And I totally think that that's going to continue. The thing that I think is awesome about Kayla is you can also see the assists are a little bit more likely for her. Now, this number is at 3.5. If you look at her on the season against this team, including the playoffs, she's actually over this number in 4 of 7. And there's pretty good reason for it. The thing I like about Kayla's assists is that, first of all, she's gone over the assists in 4 of 7 and under the points in 6 of 7. So I like a little negative correlation here for a parlay with Kayla over assists and under points. Part of the reason I like the assist, and I think she continues to do that, is you can see the Sun don't allow stuff to spot up shooters. That's how she scores all of her points. But they do sell out on the spot up shooters, which allows her to at least get into the lane a little bit and start to find players for the assists. So that's why this bet that is going to get us pretty good juice on a little same game parlay, negatively correlated, is a really good look. She's done it in 4 of 7, and the reasoning is there. fewer points for her because they run her off the line, more assists because she's not great at driving to the hoop, but she can find open players from there. So with this number at a plus like 125 on Bet365, plus 124 on FanDuel, these are really good looks to add to over assists, under points for her. Courtney Williams, I'm not quite in love with for this game. She's a player we've talked about where the minutes just aren't necessarily a guarantee for her. In this last game that they lost, 23 minutes, she did play 32, but that's a bit of an anomaly. She's normally at about 27 in the playoffs and in the regular season, where she's actually lower than 27. Her minutes don't go up entirely because they do like her backup Heidemann, and so that's going to continue to eat into her time on the floor. Obviously, she's not quite as necessary, as good as she is. They put her out there for short spurts, so without the ability to rely on how many shots she's going to take or the amount of minutes she's going to be on the floor, it's not a bet that I want to play. Bridget Carleton, however, is a play that I like a lot, and the points is what I'm looking at here. If we pull up the 9.5 on outlier.bet, you can see that something she's done in their last 10, but what I'm really focused on here, her minutes go up once she gets into the playoffs. So you look at her minutes on the regular season. If we look at all of 2024, the minutes that she averaged, 30.5. If you look at the playoffs, though, and even going back a little bit further, it's up to 33.2. In the playoffs specifically, 33.8. So you put her on the season, she's at about 10.9. Well, she's at 10 point. Looking at her points here. On the season, she's at about 10.1 points per game, right? This number is still at 8.5 on some books. You can get an alt line here. It's available. This isn't pulling through fully, but you can get 8.5 still on certain books. And even 9.5 at plus money is a very good look for someone who's averaging this on the season and is getting about 4 more minutes per game in the playoffs. And that's what I'm projecting her at in this game as well, is 34 points. So one of the really cool things about Props Madness is if we pull up Bridget Carleton, we can see on the season when she plays 34 minutes, how does she do? So we go up to the minutes filter here, and we pull this up to 34. If she plays at least 34 minutes on the season, she's over in on the points in 9 of 12 on the 9.5. And you can see here, there's still some 8.5s hanging around, still 9 of 12. The other thing is she's being told to shoot for sure, right? That we definitely know that. If I put the minutes filter back and just look at the playoffs, her shot attempts are going up, right? She's over this 8.5 number in 5 of 6, really nice hit rate, averaging 11. So getting cleanly over the 9. And then the shots go up as well. She's at 8 shots here, 4, and then 10, 5, 8. And in this game, she shot 11 times in this last game. And you could see in this last game, she's being told to be aggressive with her shot because she's their best 3-point shooter. They need people to respect that 3 so that they can't double down on Napheesa quite as easily. And that's what Bridget Carleton brings. So I expect her to have another high volume amount of shots, about 7 to 8 shots, which is what she's averaging on the season. If we also filter this to her field goal attempts and we say what happens when she takes at least 7 shots in a game in the playoffs, over in 3 of 4, only one was her very poor shooting game, last one. But if you look at the season, over in 23 of 29 games where she shoots the ball at least 7 times. And that's the 8.5 number. If you want to take 9.5, and that's for plus money on FanDuel still, that number's still 22 of 29. So your hit rate doesn't really fall, and she's still taking a lot of shots in the playoffs. So love Bridget Carleton on the points. I know we've added the rebounds in the past. It's still possible. It's not a terrible add, but this isn't going to help us too much. I think the points are really what matter for her, even if you took the combo prop. The last Lynx player with any props, Alanna Smith, also got a pass on her for the same reason as Courtney Williams. The minutes just aren't quite there for her. If we go back to outlier.bet and we pull up Alanna Smith, you're going to see the numbers for her don't really increase in minutes, and her rotation is pretty secure as is. And that's going to be something you notice with the Lynx as much as any other team in the league. They're going to play their rotation, and they're not going to waver from it at all. They do what they do, and that's how they're going to continue to play, which is Napheesa does everything. Alanna Smith and Courtney Williams are important, but they come out. Kayla McBride plays most of the game, and that's about it. And then Bridget Carleton also plays more than both Alanna and Courtney Williams because there's nobody on the bench that does what these players do. For Alanna, they've got Myisha Hines-Allen coming in. You got Needham, as I continue to mess up her name, for the backup point guard for the Lynx. So there's people that are going to come in and take her minutes. If you look at her in the last 10, 26.5 minutes, that's going to be the story for her. She did play a little bit more in the first couple. In the last 3, didn't even really get into foul trouble, and still isn't really getting the minutes that make us comfortable to say she's going to get the volume, right? If you look at the shot attempts for her in the playoffs, they waver a ton, right? And if it's at 7 or above, she's in a good spot. But this is 5, this is 9, 8. It's going to be around 7 to 9, and I just don't trust that it's going to be more. Even in these last 2 with just 4 attempts and 2 attempts, I know she went over 8.5 points last game, but she shot 75% from the field, and that's not something that I want to rely on again in this one. We have very few bets, once again, for the Sun. We don't get these players like Marina Mabrey, who's now coming off the bench. That's obviously a big factor for how you play the Sun in this game and their other player props. So the only real player prop I like in this one right now is Alyssa Thomas, and her points, I think, are the way to go. And the reason I say the points is because if she doesn't get the points, she doesn't really get the PRA. If you look at these playoffs, I'll just go to the playoffs. If you look at the playoffs, the only game she didn't get the PRA, she didn't get the points, right? There are a couple other games where she didn't get the rebounds and assists, as you can see right here. 3 of the 6 didn't get the assists and rebounds combined, but she did get the points, right? And that's the thing that I keep coming back to, is her shot attempts skyrocket once she gets into the playoffs. So in the last 6 games for her, she's at about 15 shots per game. In the regular season, she's down at about 12. So, or even 10 this season. Last year was 12. So she really didn't take very many shots, but that completely changes in the playoffs. And you can see from this game right here where they lost, she scored 13, had a really good field goal percentage, but she only took 10 shots, right? I think there was definitely a conversation between this game and the last game, game 4, where she took 17 again. And it was like, look, you've got to hit that little push shot right inside the free throw line for us, and you've got to be aggressive going to the rim. So if you look at her averages in the playoffs, she's at about 15 shots. She needs to hit 7 of them to get 14 points, and then she needs to hit the 2 free throws that she is hitting. So she's 2 for 3 from the line per game in the playoffs. That's 2 points right there. She hits 7, she's at 14. You can even get this at 13.5 points on DraftKings. I'm fine with that, but the edge is actually bigger with the plus money that you get at 104 to take this on FanDuel or anywhere else that has plus money. It's better to take it at 14.5 with the plus money because of the edge that it gives you based on the playoff numbers. And I'm believing in Alyssa Thomas' playoff numbers. I don't really care that during the regular season, she didn't do this quite as much. The 2 starting guards for this team, and Dejanay Carrington and Ty Harris, I just don't want to mess with. She had 15 points last game, banking a 3-point shot at the end of a buzzer. That's Dejanay Carrington. I know she's gone over this number against this team. It's going to look really good head to head, but look at how much she's barely getting over, right? 15, 13, 14, 13, like she's not getting that far ahead of it. So it's still like her average points per game against this team is at about 13.6. She's a better over than under. It's a stay away for me because of the inconsistency with her shot. It's just not that great. And I don't think these numbers against the Lynx are really like the most telling for how she plays against this team. As far as Ty Harris goes, it was her first game back last game. She played incredible. She shot the ball lights out, had 20 points, 7 for 11, 4 for 5 from deep. None of that really excites me. That's her coming back after not being in the starting lineup for 2 games, being super pumped to see the 30 minutes that she saw in this last game after only seeing 6 minutes the prior game and 7 because she was still coming back from injury. Now she's back in the starting lineup where she belongs, and she's feeling really good. So I can totally get taking her, but it's fool's gold at 10.5. Very similar to Courtney Williams, as well as who is Alanna Smith. The minutes might be there, but the shot attempts are going to remain consistent, right at about like 5 to 10, right in that range, or 6 to 10. And we need her to hit 6 of the 10 shots. It's not a number that I want to have to bet on. So I stayed away from Ty Harris as well. DeWanna Bonner, also a stay away, unfortunately, right now at 15.5. There's no juice here. There's no real edge to this number. I think you can still get a decent edge at the points and rebounds combined. If you look at her in the playoffs, doing that 5 out of the 6 games, averaging 24, needs 22. Even at minus 115 on 365 or even like minus 125 or so on the other books, I do think the points and rebounds are the way to go, taking the combo. 6.5 juiced all the way to the gills for the over on the rebounds. Not really liking that anymore at minus 122. It's being bet down, actually. You can see some money coming in on the under for her boards. So I would stick to the points and rebounds combo. The points are at 15.5, 14.5 for bad juice. So once you get to the combo for like a minus 110 or so, I think you're looking at a pretty good bet for Bob. Reminder, the Discord is live, free is if you want to get in there, link in the description of the video, get some of the stuff from the guest cappers and get in on the convo. If you want all the plays that I'm making though, as I mentioned, you do want to head to wap.com/land-your-bets. That's where all my plays are going. Gives you access to the VIP Discord with all the stats that I'm giving out, the numbers that I give out as soon as I give them, which we are moving some stuff these days. So you want to get in there nice and early, but that's all for now. Make sure you check out all the Thursday night football stuff I have coming up this week as well. And until I see y'all next, happy betting.